This podcast is part of the Shareable Podcast Network. Learn more at shareable.fm. Not every guest takes me up on the opportunity, but I like to do a segment called The Mic Swap, where I make my guest into the host, and then I become the guest. I let them take the conversation wherever they want to take it, ask me whatever they want, and it's a lot of fun, I think. This is Mic Swap.
Hi, I'm Miranda Mitchell, and I'm the host of Shareable, and today I have the guest, Jeff Gibbard. How are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on Shareable. I've really been hoping to be on this show for a while now, so really appreciate the invite.
Wonderful, wonderful. I'm so happy to have you here. I'm just going to jump right in here if you don't mind. I took a look at your website and it really caught my eye as far as the superhero. And I wanted to have you go in a little bit on why you created the Superhero Institute.
So it's funny that the story of it, I'll tell the long and short, quick story of it, right? So one, I've been a superhero guy since I was like 3 years old. I used to be a big Superman kid. Like I would tie the red towel around my neck and think that I could fly. So I would put on new sneakers and think that I could run fast like the Flash. Like I have been a superhero addict since I was a little kid. And it's just been a continuing thing throughout my entire life. So sometime in mid 2019, I left an agency that I was working with. I had been working in social media content marketing for about a decade at that point. And I just decided that I was kind of done with it. I didn't want to do that as a primary thing anymore. And I tried to think about what I really want to do. And I took some time off to really do that self-exploration. Talked with a lot of different people, some podcasters I know, some speakers, some authors, people that I respect. And obviously I started with talking with my wife. And my wife said to me, why don't you do something with superheroes? And I was like, listen, I love you. You're my favorite person. But I'm in business. I can't do something with superheroes. That's crazy. People aren't going to take me seriously. And she said, okay. So I went and I talked to all these other people, and what kept coming up time and time again. Oh, well, like you're like a superhero about X, Y, and Z. And like, you know, that's your superpower and super this, super that. And it kept coming up time and time again. And people would talk about, you know, people know I'm a huge Spider-Man buff. So they would bring up Spider-Man over and over. And, when I go into Starbucks, I have Batman put on the cup. So like, it's just a consistent theme with me. And after about 4 months, I was like, she was right. The superhero thing is the thing, because to me, superheroes represent one, something completely unattainable. This idea of like sort of, this highest good infallibility sort of thing to a certain extent, the kind of the Superman principle, but they represent self-sacrifice. They represent the best of human beings, that when we become superhuman, we have these powers, we have a responsibility to use whatever gifts we have to make the world a better place. And that has always resonated with me. And I think the vulnerability of superheroes is the second thing that has always resonated with me, that in almost every superhero story, almost every single one, there's a point at which the heavily powered superhero is in jeopardy. And it is somebody, very normal human being, that comes in and saves them. And oftentimes it's the one that they love the most, right? So Iron Man, it's Pepper Potts. Spider-Man, it's Mary Jane or Gwen. That it's sometimes the most ordinary of people that can step up and do extraordinary things and help even the most powerful beings, in these stories. So it's simultaneously the idea of reaching your highest potential and making an impact that can actually literally save the world in some cases. And then on the other side, it's that despite being that powerful, the recognition that we all still have vulnerabilities and weaknesses. And sometimes we just need somebody to care for us and look out for us. So those two things really resonate with me. And being an entrepreneur, I know that so many entrepreneurs struggle with self-doubt, with not being capable enough or feeling like they're not capable enough. And I wanted to create a space where not only would I be able to provide people with the tools to unlock their potential, but also encourage them to use those tools to then make the world a better and safer place like a superhero would.
I love that. And I also love that you mentioned, it seems like there's strength and vulnerability in there. So anyone can step into that superhero, and yet they can still be the humble, ordinary person still as well. So you can really step into both roles and be both roles. So you mentioned something about self-sacrificing. So what does that mean?
So when I look at the greatest superhero stories, whenever I look at any of it, the thing that gets me choked up, the thing that really hits me in my emotional core, is when they choose to put something above themselves, right? Like we're all selfish as humans. We have to be. We only live our own experience. We only know what it looks like looking through our own eyes. And empathy can only go so far in allowing us to see through others' eyes. The truth is we're still always first and foremost in a self-preservation mode. And when we look at forget superhero stories, forget about the Captain Americas and the Spider-Man and the Batman and all of them. Who are the heroes that we actually look up to? The people that we actually put the label hero on. They're the people that put their own safety in jeopardy, and they go and they do something on behalf of others. And to me, I think that self-sacrifice is one of the hallmark traits of heroes, that they have to do something that says, there is something bigger than my own interest. And I think until you're able to put your own interest aside, which is sort of like the sacrifice of the ego and your own thing. And look, sometimes some people are going to self-sacrifice purely for the ego. They want the recognition of being a hero and this and that. Great. I still think outcome is the same. If you're willing to put yourself in jeopardy for the benefit of others or sacrifice what you have, it could be sacrificing your privilege. You have to make room so that other people have a seat at the table that you're taking up space for. All of those sorts of things, I think, are heroic acts to basically give away your safety and security for others' benefit in service of a bigger mission, a bigger idea.
So basically being of service, being of service to others for the community or the collective, rather than just thinking about yourself as a whole and alone, but sacrificing for humanity.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
when you're sacrificing for humanity, what is your, as far as working with entrepreneurs and having the Superhero Institute, what is it that you want your clients to walk away with?
I want them to walk away ready to courageously do something that matters. And maybe it's something that only matters to them. It could be a small victory, but I think that when we are able to supersede the desire for profit and monetary gain in the things that we do, and again, like I don't want to come off as I think that it's not important to make money. It obviously is. Like we all have to survive in this society, and like this is the way it's structured, and you do what you do, right? But I think if that's your priority, then you're missing an opportunity to do something that truly matters. Like money is a commodity. It's everywhere. Everybody's got some amount or another, for the most part, everybody's got some. Some people have none, and those people should have some. But the point being is that like, that's not a reason. That's not a purpose. It's not leaving your mark on the world. And I guess part of what drives me is I think if everybody's got different beliefs, and I'm not objectively right here. I just have an opinion. My opinion is we all have one shot at this. If this is the one life that we get, if that then the only evidence that we have is that we get one shot at it, what are you going to do with it? And for me, the concept of purpose is addressing that question. What if you knew that this was your only life and you could define what it means, what it's for, then what would you do? And for me, that means empowering enough people that we can actually, through our collective action, make a better world that's safer, kinder, more equitable, and that just advances the human race into the future, even if I don't get to benefit from it, right? So I think that answers the question.
And also, I love the fact you talked about a little bit about money and monetary and all that. And superheroes, I mean, people that love one another and connect with one another and feel like community is important and put their monies towards the environment and towards what will make their sustainable and the future generation sustainable, like then the people that come out of your Superhero Institute then can create and have that money so they can continue to build the earth to sustainability, So money is very important. And the types of people that have money is very important. So I love that you mentioned that.
Yeah, absolutely. I want people to feel that, like, they say like the only thing you can count on is like, death and taxes or something like that. I'm like, what a horrible way to think about life. That like, that's it. Right. I guess I want people to think bigger. I want people to think like, well, what could I do that means something to me? It doesn't, again, it doesn't have to be huge, but like, I think the thing I want all of my clients to get is to recognize how much power they have to affect change in the world, and that their contribution matters, and that relinquishing that contribution in service of just like showing up at work, clocking in, clocking out, coming home, and, spending time with their friends and family, like, not that there's anything wrong with that, but that I'm encouraging them to be even more ambitious about what their life means and why they're here and what they're hoping to accomplish. And just to look for that, look for something that drives them and excites them and gets them ready to jump out of bed and do what they're doing, rather than reluctantly walk into work.
And if you were to leave a message or have some point of focus or inspiration for students or people that are interested in signing up with you, what would you leave them with? What statement or inspiration?
I guess I would just challenge them on the idea about whether or not they believe they could actually be a superhero. Because I believe that the path to becoming a superhero is actually, it's a process. It's like learning to run a marathon, right? Like, to me, running a marathon seems like an insane thing. People tell me they've run a marathon. I'm like, no, you didn't. Because the idea of running 26 miles seems just completely absurd to me. Like, no human should be able to do such a feat. But there's a process to being able to run a marathon. You go through certain steps, right? And I think there are certain steps that you can go through to becoming superhuman, as in, like, generally, like, human beings, as with everything, there are averages, right? There's an average and there's a median, right? There's a median level of fitness. There's a median level of intelligence. There's a median level of charisma. There's a median level of just about everything. Everything has an average and a median. And I look at it as there's a process to whatever skills you think you need to accomplish the things you want. There's a process to getting better at those things. And I have a framework for it I call the superhuman framework. And then once you have that and you learn sort of the core meta abilities to grow in any area of life that you want, once you layer on a certain set of ethics, a certain set of constraints around yourself, you can be heroic. And that's the superhero code. So for me, I challenge people to, like, for the people to say, oh, I could never do that because X, right? I challenge people to say, could you actually be a superhero, and buy into the idea? And here's the thing, I'm not even trying to get clients here. Like, I'm not trying to sign people up to coach with me and like the whole thing. Like, the coaching at the Superhero Institute is sort of like the last hurdle. More importantly, I want people to come and read what I've written at there. I want them to consume the videos. I want them to consume the ideas and go off and be amazing. Like, it's not about me and like me making the Superhero Institute is 99% free. Like, it's all just free stuff. It's information I collect all over so people can be better. So I'm challenging people to, whatever job they're in, whether they work for someone or they work for themselves, to challenge themselves to be the absolute best version of themselves and break out and become superheroes. So it would be like a challenge more so than inspiring. Maybe that inspires some people, but it would be like, I'm throwing down the gauntlet. Like, you can be better, and not as a judgment of like, you're not good, but like, wherever you are, you can get better. And I think that you should take that challenge and be better.
So you leave people with taking the challenge and noticing when to be better.
Yeah.
Awesome. So thank you so much for being on the show today. And I guess that's shareable.